What's up everybody, SuperX fan here for another weekly update in the Mustang. So, as you might be able to see here from my dash cam footage, there's a light dusting on the road here, and I apologize for the lack of winter snowy updates here as far as how the GT's handling the snow. But honestly, I'm not expecting it to be much different than the EcoBoost as far as, the extra power and the extra torque may cause it to be, a little more wheel spin happy and, therefore make it a little less good in the snow than the EcoBoost was, but we'll just have to wait and see, as the winter progresses. We usually don't get too much bad snow around here in the Pittsburgh area until, January, February, so that's why you're starting to see it here little by little. Once again, I announced this last week, but I want to say it again for those that missed last week's update. I will be going to the Detroit Auto Show this next week here coming up, and so I'm going to be driving to Detroit in the GT here, and it looks like it's going to be all clear on my drive up on Sunday, but on my drive back on Tuesday, because the show actually doesn't really have much going on Tuesday. It's only like Monday when there's all the stuff. And I apologize in advance for the bombardment of videos that there will be next week. There will be a ton. There's going to be a bunch of new cars being released, and I'll be there covering them all, giving my thoughts on all of them, giving you guys an up-close look at all of them, at least all the ones that I know are enthusiast-oriented and stuff that I think you guys would be interested in. I do skip a good amount of stuff every year, so if there are cars that you see that, you definitely want to make sure that I cover, maybe some oddball stuff that I normally wouldn't cover, be sure to let me know in the comments below, either now or whenever, I'm posting on social media about stuff as it's happening next week. And that's going to be the best way, once again, to stay up to date on all that stuff is by following me on all the social media. All the links to all that are always in the description of every video for all my social media stuff, and that's going to be the best way to stay in touch as far as all that stuff goes. But, yes, getting back to the Mustang, though. So, on the drive back on Tuesday, it looks like there's going to be 1 to 3 inches of snow on my drive back. It's going to turn into rain later on in the day, so I'm not sure how awful it's really going to be, but that should at least, force me to drive this thing through a little bit more snow and, see how that does, although usually highways are very well maintained and stuff. But, yeah, I'm hoping, to do some snow drifting videos here, in a parking lot at some point during the winter and all that kind of stuff for sure, because it should be, really fun in the snow, I'm sure. So, but yeah, otherwise, nothing new to report on. I officially crossed 5,000 miles here in it, and, yeah, it's just, I'm still just loving this. And honestly, I go back and forth, especially with the news this past week about the hybrid Mustang, I go back and forth about maybe I should, buy a Shelby. It's one of the last great hurrahs of naturally aspirated normal V8 engine Mustangs. Maybe I should grab one of those, and it is very tempting, and it's something I'm going to consider this year, especially if they don't do a bullet version. But it's honestly, just even driving this, it's so much car already. It's still plenty for what I usually will need or want. I mean, even just merging onto the highway yesterday, I mean, I was in 4th gear and just stomped on it, and it's amazing how much this thing just flies, especially with these 355 gears that I have here. It just really makes it extremely peppy and very thrilling. And honestly, the great thing about the Shelby is the high redline of those cars. And I think about how often do I actually redline my car, and it's not that often, really. I mean, I do, I'd say maybe once every week or so, maybe something like that. It depends, obviously, depending on how much driving I'm doing and stuff like that. But I'm like, will I really have that many opportunities in normal daily driving circumstances to be able to take a Shelby up to 8250? Even though, I mean, I think 2nd gear you top out at 80 miles an hour or something from what I can remember from my review of it. It's just crazy. So it's how often am I really going to be able to fully enjoy a Shelby if I'm just daily driving it? And, I feel like I get 8/10 of the fun of the Shelby here with just a normal Mustang, because I'm not really whipping a Shelby around corners super fast or something like that, because there's traffic and you can't fly, and that car has such high limits that I think the lower limits of the GT actually make it more fun, most likely for a daily driving situation. Again, I've never daily driven a Shelby, so I can't say definitively, but these are just the thoughts rolling around in my head, and bouncing back and forth. Should I get one? Should I not get one? And right now I'm really just still really happy with this. But anyway, gonna end that here, all my mumbling thoughts, and send it back to me at the news desk for this week's news. Right, for this week's news, the first thing is Subaru this past week unveiled a revised and refreshed 2018 WRX and WRX STI. Now, if you watched last week's weekly update, then you'll know that there isn't going to be an all-new WRX and WRX STI coming out until the 2020 year or 2021 model year, and so that's when the all-new one based on the new 2017 Impreza will be coming out. This is still based on the old WRX and WRX STI, and so it's just mostly styling changes. The important things that we were hoping would be changed are not changed. No new engine options, no hatch option, and all the engines have the same amount of horsepower and torque as before. No upgrades whatsoever in any of those departments, which is a bummer. But I will put aside my rant for now and continue on with the other upgrades, because there are lots of other small incremental upgrades that they've made in typical Subaru fashion. The first is, in addition to the new front end styling, they didn't even touch the back end, only front end changes, new headlights there. New front bumper. Those headlights, though, they are LEDs on the WRX Limited and on all STI models, and they actually turn with your steering to go into corners, which is very cool. And they're a little more revised with their styling as well, a little bit sharper now. But some other things that make it supposedly drive better is that the suspension has been optimized for better handling and ride comfort. It also has revised transmission synchros, a smoother clutch take-up, and the steering has also been revised to be smoother as well. And as you can see here, the STI has new 19-inch wheels with upgraded Brembo brakes. There are 6-piston Brembo brakes, 245 wide tires now on these 19-inch wheels, and it also has a revised DCCD all-wheel drive system that is now electrical. They got rid of the mechanical diffs, and they're electrically controlled diffs now, so pretty crazy there. Some other changes are that there's now available Recaro seats that are also power, and so they're standard on the STI Limited, and they're going to be optional on the base STI, and they're going to be a part of the performance package for the WRX, which I'll get to here in a second. So the WRX has a new performance package that they're mentioning now is only on the premium model, but they say it's for WRX models, so I'm guessing it's available on also the base and the Limited, but I'm not totally sure. Anyway, this new performance package for the WRX, it gives you those Recaro seats that you get in the STI, which do look very nice, I have to say. It gives you some upgraded brake pads that also have red brake calipers that are painted, and it also has a moonroof delete to help with lowering the center of gravity. All very good improvements there. Hopefully, though, you will be able to get some kind of combination so you can get those Recaros and a moonroof, even if you do without the upgraded brakes. But we'll have to wait and see on that. They also have updated the EyeSight driver assist technology, which is only available if you get the CVT version. But some safety improvements for all models, manual and automatic, are that they all have a revised front structure for enhanced collision performance. Most likely that small overlap crash test, which is very challenging, and all car companies are upgrading their front ends to accommodate that better. They've also upgraded the interior materials. They said they've made improvements to make the cabin quieter. There's also a larger 5.9-inch center display over like the 4.5-inch display that they had before, and that shows your boost gauge and other vehicle info there in the center, which is cool. Also, the head unit has been upgraded. So on the premium models, it's now upgraded to the 7-inch Starlink system versus the 6.2-inch that the premiums used to have. Not sure. There's no other updates about the infotainment. It looks like the same infotainment as the 2017 model, which is a really big disappointment because I was hoping it would at least have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto here for 2018, considering the 2017 standard Impreza has that, but that again is the all-new model. But I figured they could just pull out that new head unit at least and put that in there, but it looks like they're rocking the old school, I say old school from 2017, but they're using the older infotainment system instead of the brand new awesome sharp one in the 2017 Imprezas. So again, a little bit of a disappointment there because all the competition has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So that's a sore spot, and because I think it's a really nice improvement that all cars have these days. And so a little bit of a sore spot there. But otherwise, it's good, typical refresh improvements. I like the styling. The performance package is cool. It's good to have more options, and it seems like it'll be better in just about every single way. Some other disappointing news from Subaru, though. Not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but the Tokyo Auto Salon's going on currently, and there's all kinds of cool concepts that get unveiled, and Subaru has shown a new BRZ STI Sport concept. Sport is the key word here. STI Sport is like, RS Sport or AMG Sport or something. it's not a full-blown STI model. It's just an STI wannabe kind of thing where it has STI badges all over it, but this is basically looking like it's the BRZ TS, which we don't even get here in the States, and just has the new body that you get with the 2017 BRZ now, with those suspension improvements. No more power, nothing else, just basically the suspension tweaks, and that's about it. But like I said, we're not getting it here in the States, so it doesn't even matter to most of us anyway that are watching this video. But, a cool, little tweak there as far as the front lip and things like that go. It does look good. Another thing that's been tweaked, this past week, Ford was spied testing their new 2018 F-150, which we believe we'll be seeing at the Detroit Auto Show next week, I should say, sorry, and I'll be showing you guys an up-close look at the 2018 F-150 if it does unveil, in fact, at Detroit while I'm there. And so, but it looks good there from what we can see in the front. Not too much in the back end, still camouflaged, so we can't really see any new changes to taillights or tailgate or anything like that. But in the front there, very nice new bold grille that looks like it'll be really cool looking. And so can't wait to see more of that next week. Another thing that'll be shown next week is Volkswagen is going to be revealing their Volkswagen Atlas with the R-Line appearance package, which, gives it a little bit of a sportier appearance for the brand new Atlas, which is their Ford Explorer competing, large SUV. So yeah, it'll be making its appearance at Detroit. For those that missed the details on the Atlas, you can either get it with a 3.6 liter V6 that has 276 horsepower or a turbocharged 4-cylinder with 235 horsepower. All-wheel drive is on all models, and it'll be available in the spring. Another crossover here is that there's some rumors here that Nissan's going to be bringing their new Qashqai, as I think how you pronounce that. It's a model that's available over in Europe and stuff. We don't get it here in the States, but it's basically a shrunken down Nissan Rogue. And with how popular the small crossover segment is, this is almost a surefire hit for Nissan. So we're going to probably be seeing it next week in Detroit. And hopefully they'll be giving it a name change, because that name is going to almost certainly baffle most Americans. The next few stories here are from the Consumer Electronics Show, which is currently going on in Vegas this week, which is all the futuristic stuff and, ways to show off cool technology here for the next year. And so Faraday Future finally unveiled their Tesla rival. It's been much talked about, much anticipated. It's called the FF91, and it's actually their production intention vehicle. So this is hopefully what it'll actually look like when it's produced next year. They're saying sometime in 2018. It sounds very impressive on paper. It's going to have a 200 kilowatt fast charging capable battery. They says it'll do 500 miles of range per hour of charge. So it has a 130 kilowatt hour battery pack that should give it an EPA range of 378 miles before it needs recharging. But that's only if you don't use all of the car's power. This thing has 1,050 horsepower. So it could burn through that battery pack much quicker if you're heavy on the gas, or so to speak, the gas. But yeah, they had a lot of bold talk at this, presentation that they gave. They said it's going to have a multifaceted disruption as far as the auto industry is concerned. It's going to completely reformat the auto industry and flip everything on its head. And one of the cool things that they're talking about here is an FFID, which is your personal Faraday Future ID, which allows it to transfer profile settings from car to car, so that no matter which Faraday Future vehicle you're in, it'll feel like home, because it'll have all your settings saved and all that kind of stuff, which sounds cool, but I mean, not overly complicated or impressive, honestly. They just keep saying it's a new species of car. It's going to be very fast. They said it'll accelerate as fast as the speed of gravity. They say it's like 2.39 seconds 0 to 60, which, I mean, a Tesla supposedly does it in 2.4 seconds, so basically the same there, and so it's just a little bit of trying to one-up desperately. And the funny thing is, though, during this presentation they gave in Vegas, they had the car trying to do an auto parking, parking itself, and it failed on stage in front of everyone. So, and there's still even a lot of doubt, because apparently they're way behind on their construction bills for this factory they're building by like $200 million, and all kinds of headaches are going on. People are leaving the company left and right. So I don't even know if this thing's ever going to actually see the light of day in production form. But an interesting concept nonetheless, and so cool to see that. Toyota also unveiled a very interesting car here at CES, and theirs is called the Toyota Concept I. And man, is it interesting in a very unique way that hasn't really been done before, I don't think. They say basically this is their futuristic vision of what driving a Toyota means in the year 2030. So, not too far off here, but they wanted to be realistic with it, but still be imaginative. Basically, they say that, they are seeing how all these autonomous cars and Teslas and stuff are very cold and soulless, and they want something opposite. They said they want something that's still fun to drive, but also have a new way to interact between driver and car. Basically, reignite a love for cars. So instead of reigniting a love for cars by driving fast or how it makes you feel whenever you're, actually driving it, it's more kind of a Disneyfication. So it kind of gives this car like a Disney personality. So it comes to life and it's like your friend almost in a way. Very, very interesting. So there's a big long list of things here I'm going to read off about this. It's going to be proposing a future that incorporates technology with a soul. And they say, again, they don't want to make a soulless machine. So the big thing about this thing, in addition to the crazy looks that it has, that you can obviously see, is its infotainment / personality. This car has this thing called UE, I think is how you pronounce that, which is its artificial intelligence system that is like a friend to you, like I said. So when you first enter the car, you meet UE, and it's a pulsing like light in the center console, and it raises up to meet your hand, and that's kind of like how you start the car. Then it moves around the cockpit of the car at will and does random things. It's almost like a random little animated character that's like over your shoulder or something all the time. So basically, other things that it does here, it'll appear on various displays within the car, so it'll be, in the side of the car, in the front of the car, whatever, and it flash zooms onto the dash and instrument panel, and so it'll just pop up wherever it needs to pop up to tell you things, and so it zips around all over the place. It has message boards on the exterior of the vehicle as well to communicate with other cars and pedestrians, and it'll provide text warnings that say, watch out, turning left, things like that, with OLED displays built into the bumpers themselves, which is a very cool and handy thing, though, when you think about it. I wish I had stuff like that every once in a while to kind of get, the idea across to other drivers that are clueless about certain things. But they said they studied the 12 principles of animation that Disney artists established back in the 1930s. And so they were able to animate Yui in a way that he has manners, or he or she, whatever it is, has manners and motions that will help it convey feelings and emotion. And so it has visual cues. You can also control this stuff with eye commands, voice commands, touch commands, and it's just all kinds of other interesting things. Like it has headlamps that are beneath the body of the car and beneath the paint, so when the car is off you don't see them or anything, and they're not even present, but then whenever you approach the car they open up like eyes, and it can even wink at you just for fun. It's just, again, it's part of this like Disney character that this car is, and so it also can do other little personalized things, like those exterior panels whenever you approach the car can say welcome back or welcome or goodbye or whatever, and do all that kind of stuff. And so very futuristic, but honestly, something like this may work. I don't know. It seems maybe a little too kiddie, but I think like this actually kind of sounds cool in a way. It sounds like it is fun. Like it would be fun to, run around and do errands with this thing, and it's talking to you and you're interacting with it. And they may actually be onto something here. I don't know. Just like when I read this and all the stuff that it does, I was like, that's actually really cool and actually different. Instead of, this typical holograms and all the other normal things that cars have, this actually seems relatively obtainable, relatively, futuristic, while also being realistic. And I don't know, just something about that really struck a chord. I think it's pretty cool, and so we'll just have to wait and see, how things develop here in the next decade or so to see if something like this would actually be possible. The last cool thing about this is that it is a self-driving car, but it still lets you drive it as well. So that's also very nice, so that it's not just, some floating blob. You can actually drive this thing around, and it'll interact with you while you're driving as well. And so very, very cool idea there by Toyota. Well done. And the last car from CES that was unveiled here, and it's not even a car technically, BMW unveiled this thing called Inside Future, which BMW is actually calling a sculpture. And that's because it doesn't actually have wheels, and it's just this like levitating, rolling thing, whatever it is. It's just kind of a display, honestly, for some interior tech that they think is going to happen in the future. There's less features here than there are in the Toyota thing, but basically it has, I guess, the next generation version of this holo-active interface that BMW is actually putting out here with this new 7 Series, and it will continue to be integrated into more models in the future. But one cool thing is every passenger in this vehicle has a individual sound curtain that emanates from the head restraints, and these allow everyone to listen to their music or their movies or whatever without disturbing anyone, without the need for headphones at all, which is very cool. I'm not sure how that actually works, but sounds pretty futuristic and awesome. The rear passengers have large widescreen displays to display whatever it is they want to display on them, and they also in the front have some interesting things with this holoactive technology, so that, you know, they have cameras that track the positions of your fingers, and this is already, like I said, in the new 7 Series, but this takes it one step further where, you know, you can be swiping your hand and controlling things, but then it actually has ultrasonic emitters that generate a tactile sensation whenever you've actually selected something. So if you're waving your hand around, it'll feel like you're touching something just because of these things that are emitted, and so pretty wild stuff there, but again, sounds like something that's relatively obtainable here, you know, in the next 10 years or something, and so very cool to see that. Another futuristic car that Chrysler did actually unveil at CES, but it's also going to be unveiled at Detroit next week, and that is their Chrysler Portal concept, which is designed by millennials for millennials, and it's all this stuff. It's basically just, you know, a bunch of LCD screens inside a minivan that opens up both ways, and, you know, it's just basically touchscreens everywhere that can be repositioned. It has 10 docking stations to charge your smartphones and tablets, and it has a lithium-ion battery pack as far as the driving part of it goes that has a 100 kilowatt-hour battery, and that's enough to drive it for more than 250 miles. It has a 350 kilowatt fast charger that allows it to get a 150-mile range in less than 20 minutes, and it has a single electric motor that powers the front wheels. And this thing is semi-autonomous, where it can take over driving duties on the highway, but it's going to, you know, still require you to drive it. And again, this is not a production vehicle anyway. This is just a concept. But, you know, it could be upgraded, of course, in the future as the autonomous capabilities become more widespread. And in addition, it has facial recognition and biometric technologies that allow us to recognize people, and so it'll change the environment, again, kind of like the Faraday Future thing, to cater the car to what you like and your pre-saved preferences and things like that. It also has an internal wireless network that allows interior occupants to share music, images, and videos and other data in between each other in the car. I don't know what's wrong with leaning over and saying, hey, look at this, but apparently Chrysler thinks you need to send that to someone else's tablet because we're all going to literally be glued to our tablets. Again, just kind of odd, but again, just a concept, whatever, but interesting to see that. And finally, for some good old-fashioned supercar news, normal car news again. McLaren officially announced today that they're going to be replacing the 650S with a new car that's going to be making its debut on March 7th at the Geneva Auto Show. And they just unveiled a picture here of this new chassis for this replacement vehicle. And this is called Monocage II, which is, you know, fully carbon fiber, looks very awesome. And it's going to actually, on the cars that have this Monocage II, it's going to have an option called visible monocage that allows the interior side of the A-pillars to be exposed with that exposed carbon, which is a cool idea. But they say this is a lot more improvement over the previous monocage that they had before. The door openings are wider, the sills have been lowered, which will make it easier to climb into the car most likely. It also, they say, it will have a lower center of gravity, a lighter dry weight than a comparable 650S. They say the dry weight will actually be 2,829 pounds, which McLaren says is 40 pounds less than a comparable 650S, which is a good reduction there just for the, you know, chassis itself. And so this is going to be the first, this car they're unveiling in Geneva is going to be the first of the Super Series McLarens. They're going to be 15 new models based on this platform here that you're seeing, and they're going to come by 2022. That's all 15 will be available by 2022 is what they mean by that. And they also mentioned that their next hybrid, because of course the P1 is the only current hybrid they have, the next hybrid arrives by 2022, and they said that by 2022 half of their lineup will actually be hybrids. So half the lineup, thankfully. Not Ferrari said all their models will be hybrid by 2019, I think, or 2020. So McLaren saying by 2022 half their stuff's going to be hybrid, the other half will not be hybrid, thankfully. So there'll still be some good old-fashioned stuff without the hybrid stuff incorporated in. But yeah, very promising platform there. So cool to see that, and can't wait to see the actual car on March 7th. But yeah, so that's it for all the news this week, guys. So I'll send it back to me in the car. Alrighty, so the roads are a little slick, so I'm going to take it a little bit easier, but I'll leave you with a nice low acceleration here. We'll do second gear like I always do. There's the wheel spin. Alright, so it's slipping a little bit more, but yeah, these snow tires do a really good job of keeping you planted here, and these Goodyear Ultra Grip Ice WRTs that I run here on the Mustang have treated me pretty well. So, but yeah, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Take care.